Okay, so let me take you through my fan art portfolio that I did throughout the summer of 2025. For a while, as an artist, I was stuck in this rhythm of doing art that was on a time budget, had some type of extra like agenda behind it, like gaining social media traction or something, just some kind of caveat like that. So when the time came for me to do this portfolio, which I've been planning out for a while, I was super excited to be able to do some stuff that was completely 100% uncompromised. It was just me going all out. And let me tell you, I had so much fun doing this portfolio. So let's dig right in. We got Mario here. We got some Mario illustrations. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here. We got some Zelda. We got some Splatoon. We got some One Piece. We got some like Yu Yu Hakusho. Stay tuned, it's gonna be cool. But I wanted to start off with Mario because these Mario illustrations right here are really whimsical and wacky. And I think they serve as a great intro to what you're in for. This was actually the first thing that I drew for the portfolio. Everything that I show you here will be relatively in the order that I made it. So for certain kinds of franchises, I really enjoy juicing them with the kind of over-the-top energy and spirit that you see from like that of a shonen manga, and that's what I've done here for this crazy wombo combo that the Mario Bros are dishing out to Bowser. A lot of fun making this one. Bowser is my favorite Mario character, so anytime I get to draw him, probably having a good time. He also has a lot of qualities that I just appreciate drawing as an artist. Some of my favorite stuff to do is like gritty stuff that has a lot of like weatheredness to it, and so like with Bowser's design, there's a lot of parts of him that I'm able to really push that with. And then to fill up the space, I drew Rosa in a ponytail up at the top there, and then I drew like Mario underneath the fire flower and the ice flower at the bottom there. So this next one is even more of an example of what I was just saying. So for the left side right here, we got Mario and Luigi aura farming on this giant stack of dry bones. I really especially like this one for how quickly and concisely it all came together. This one didn't take me very much time at all. I actually don't know how long these take for me to do, so if you were curious about that, I apologize. I kind of just get to working and I just let the time pass by. And like historically, every time I've tried to track myself, I've always been bad at it, so it's a whole thing. Like, because I do everything traditionally, like this isn't a problem for digital artists because I think they usually have like software that tells them how long they've been working. But for me, I would use a timer anytime I like would think to do that. And then often I would like forget that the timer is on and stuff because I would like do other things at the same time of when I was working. Because I never do this all in like one sitting, you know? So then it's just never accurate. I don't bother. It's whatever. It's a whole thing. But anyways, moving on to this big Yoshi. There's a certain brand of like machinery that I really like drawing, and this Yoshi is the exact example of it. Like, I'm more of a fantasy fan than a sci-fi fan, but this sort of like robotics and mechanical engineering, I absolutely love. There's this artist that I've been following for quite a while now. His name's Jake Parker, and he has like a huge repertoire of different illustrations that have to do with drawing robots that look very similar to this. This is the kind of thing that I was trying to go for and emulate. I love his art style when it comes to drawing robots. But so for this Mario 64 illustration you see here, I feel like this really highlights the type of creativity that comes really naturally with using the Mario franchise as a conduit. And so this is why I decided to lead this portfolio with Mario specifically, because truth be told, I'm not even that big of a Mario fan. Like, I do like Mario a lot, of course, because no duh, I wouldn't have even chosen it at all if I didn't like it. It's just that like, especially when it comes to Nintendo, I'm a bigger fan of other things like Zelda, like Splatoon. It's just one of those series that like sits in the middle of the pack in terms of things that I like. Nowhere near the bottom, of course, but it's like hovering right below the top below other things. Either way, I cannot deny that there is just something about the art and aesthetic of the Mario franchise that just lends itself to crazy stuff like this. Like, I was just recently taking a gander at the trailer for Mario Wonder again, and man, that game's art is just mesmerizing. It's just fun. When I was making these, I was actually completing Mario Odyssey for my very first time. And see, like, that's what I mean. I'm never like rushing to Mario. I got Odyssey as a Christmas present, and I think that was in 2021, and it still took me forever to play it. Now, once I did, absolutely amazing game. Super happy that I got to it eventually, but the stuff I'm first in line for is like Zelda, Xenoblade, God, even Sonic. I really like Sonic. I know it's unfortunate to hear. And honestly, usually I'm the type of person who wants to try something that's like new, because I know Mario is like so tried and true that like when I pick up a Mario game, I'm not gonna like have a bad time, you know? And so moving on to the next illustration, this one with the eels. So for this one, really like this concept of the eels here. It's kind of crazy, I know, but it's just the cycle of life. But really, it was originally supposed to be just the big eel from Mario Odyssey / 64, because the Odyssey one is actually just a revamped version of the 64 one. But But then when I was doing my research, I was surprised to see how many giant eels they've had throughout the Mario franchise. I guess they decided to keep it up considering how infamous the original one was from Mario 64, yeah? So then I got the idea to do this like over the top like chain of like predator hunting prey, hunting predator, hunting prey, you know, etc. I've always been a fan of that kind of idea. I used to really like Toriko, and I still do like Hunter x Hunter for sure, because, you know, that's still going on technically. But so this gingerbread house one, this one was kind of a pain in the butt to do. It was worth it because I love the way it came out, but doing the frosting on these gingerbread cookies here, it was a nightmare, because the paper that I'm using here is like Bristol board, and so the Bristol board's a bit glossy, and I used a white gel pen to mark the page to get the effect here, and like it just sometimes it would not stick to the page. It was so annoying, but I just knew that this was the perfect opportunity for me to do something that was like sugar based, dessert based, because I'm like a massive fan of that kind of stuff. I love like massive like dessert kingdoms, and this was just like the perfect opportunity for it. But onto something that's like the direct opposite of that in terms of like tone and feel, you know? So we got these two Metal Sonic illustrations. Metal Sonic is my favorite Sonic character, and I feel like he is highly underrated. Very curious to see what they do in the Sonic movie 4, considering he's gonna be the focus. Back to more gritty, weathered surfaces. Like I said earlier, absolutely a big fan of that, and I love like robot guts. Strange way of putting it, but I like when like robots get really messed up and destroyed, and you can see like certain parts of their innards spilling out and crap. It's really cool looking, which is funny because I'm not like a gore fan at all. But when it comes to robots, I guess I'm like, you know, I'm like, whoa. And so this is just an extension of everything I was saying earlier when I was talking about the Big Yoshi. Metal Sonic is especially one of those robots when he gets all battle damaged like this. Oh, he looks so cool. So now onto the Zelda illustrations. These illustrations are actually the artworks I did last for this portfolio, but for the showcase, I decided to change the order because I just really wanted to put these near the Mario ones. So for these Zelda illustrations, they're a bit unique. So just like you saw with the Mario ones, these aren't supposed to be like related to any one specific game. It's just like a hodgepodge of stuff from the series itself. Those Mario illustrations didn't take inspiration from like specifically Galaxy or Odyssey. It was kind of like a mix. Only really with that Mario 64 one of Mario and Luigi flying. That was probably like the closest I got to one specific game as an inspiration. So like it's the same thing with these Zelda illustrations. The idea is that there's three different incarnations of Links from different games. Basically just doing things, random whatever, just fun stuff that I had the idea of that was like typical for the Zelda universe. So this Chew Jelly Shop one is probably my favorite one out of the Zelda ones. And even as I was making it, I kind of knew that it would be. I'm a really big fan of like potions and stuff like that. I really like shopkeeper characters. I'd say like my favorite archetype when it comes to like fantasy character tropes. So for this next one, we've got 3 of the Links in a fairy fountain right here on the left. This is one of those ones where it was a bit nerve-wracking in the middle of making it because it was like, it took a long time for it to come together, and it was not coming together for quite a bit of time. This was one of those ones where you just have to kind of like chill with it. If you have a vision, sit back, relax, and like trust the process, because this only kind of like came together and popped once I like added the black background, because I knew for sure that I wanted for these fairies to just be floating around and for that to be like my biggest source of color and brightness. So once this one got completed, it was like super relieving. Originally there was supposed to be an additional one in this portfolio that like mirrored this fairy fountain one, because this one is all like silver and white, and so I was gonna make this other one that was like really gold, and it was gonna be all the Links in like their different royal guard outfits, but I got pretty burnt out on the portfolio by that point, so it just never came to be. But as for this one over here with them in the Gerudo Desert, originally this one was supposed to be very different. I was gonna have like a bunch of different types of materials spread around the camp, but after a while I kind of thought about it and I was like, maybe we could use some more focus. I was gonna have like meat, I was gonna have like other monster parts, I was gonna have like crystals and stuff, but now especially looking back on it in hindsight, I made the right decision. That would have been cool if I was doing like a black and white illustration, but this all had to be colored, so yeah, definitely not. And so lastly for these Zelda ones, these two kind of relate to what I was just talking about with that fairy fountain one. So both of these are dual, you know, they're like opposing. So we got one at Death Mountain and we got one in some type of Rito cavern. I would say it's like on the inside of like a mountain in Hebra. I definitely had a lot of fun with these massive crystals here. Giving myself a little pat on the back for coming up with the idea of like having one side be mineral crystals and the other side being ice crystals. So for the lava one, I feel like in hindsight it would have been wise to add a little bit of a gray tone to all of the brown, because all of this brown is like really overpowering. It's a bit much, but otherwise I'm really happy about how this came out, and it came out quickly too, so maybe that has to do with it actually. All the brown, I mean, I used predominantly like one color, so. But as for this ice one, this was the final one, and I will admit there was a bit of burnout setting in from this, and I mean I strategically kind of like set this up to be like that. That's why I kind of like, you know, let this one be like the one where everything is just white. But even so, I really skimmed on certain elements of this. Either way though, I still like it. So, I mean, it might be obvious, might not be, but if you look closely, the ice crystal has some stuff in it. One has a bokoblin in there, and then another crystal has a chest in there. But even though there was supposed to be one final drawing, the one that I talked about, the gold one, I'm really happy about how all these Zelda illustrations came out. I was supposed to end this portfolio with one piece, which is going to be what we show off next, which I would have been cool with, but in terms of like the portfolio's overall rhythm, like when you look at it from a top-down view, something just didn't sit right with me. Having Zelda somewhere in the mix there just felt much better. But yeah, anyways, onto these Zoro illustrations. These One Piece artworks have a strong focus on Zoro specifically. Some of the other Straw Hats make little cameos here or there, but they're mostly focused on Zoro. So I struggle to name who my favorite Straw Hat is out of the bunch. But Zoro, he's definitely, I'd say, up there. He's pretty up there. I haven't taken the time to be invested in One Piece, like being caught up in like a very long time, to be honest. The last stuff I saw was Punk Hazard. I know, I'm a dinosaur, but I've got certain folks that like keep me updated with what's happening in certain like broad strokes, I guess you could say. But one of these days I'm hoping that I can catch up and really like take it in for myself truly, you know? And regardless of that, the soul is still there, of course. One Piece is like one of my greatest influences as an artist and as a writer, just as a creator in general. So for these artworks, to those who are One Piece fans and to those who are also a bit eagle-eyed, you might notice that some of these locations are a bit familiar to you. So what I did was I cherry-picked some of my favorite One Piece color spreads and then I like expounded upon them because I like really like Oda's color spreads. Oda's color spreads are kind of the style that I've adopted for like all of this. I've been imitating color spreads of his in various ways for a very long time. I think this is one of Zoro and Nami here. I think this is my favorite one of the bunch. There's a lot of cool little details that I'm happy that I was able to sneak into this illustration. Things that pertain to either Zoro or Nami, like Nami's maps over there on the side and little tangerines that are scattered everywhere. And Zoro's swords are always really fun to draw. But as for this other one, this military one, I like the idea of it. This is taken from that one color spread where all the Straw Hats are like in that war zone. Like, it's cool, but I kind of got the green a little bit off. It's a little wrong looking. When I like took a step back and looked at it from afar, I realized the green was just like not dark enough. I'm happy that I was able to draw like my gritty weathered surfaces that I usually like to draw, but like altogether I just feel like it not being the correct shade just kind of just annoys me, you know? Kind of a nitpick, but it's whatever. So these next two are the final ones, but these are actually the first ones that I drew. So for the showcase, I wanted to put my best foot forward in terms of showing stuff off here, because like for these, I use these two as an experiment to get used to drawing Zoro, which is funny because as you can see here, I drew also Luffy and Nami, but it was just a part of the idea. So speaking of which, this one of Luffy and Nami, this one's taken from that one color spread where they're eating all the pizza. And then over here we got Zoro, of course, being the absolute unit that he is training. Of course, it's always a mystery about how they fit this on the Sunny, but whatever. So these I really had a lot of fun with. These are my Kimberly illustrations. So Kimberly was for sure, when I was planning this whole thing out, one of my most anticipated characters to draw because I knew for sure she would let me go completely crazy with the colors. But even with that in mind, I'm still like really surprised at just how good these came out. Super proud of myself for these. These are like some of my favorites in the entire portfolio. So for this one on the left, there's this sort of weird philosophy I have for when it comes to using like a lot of colors in one illustration. If I have a multicolor scheme going on here, like you see with all these paint clouds, I tend to do this thing where I don't even really know if this like matters in the grand scheme of things. I feel like it does, but like what I do is I meticulously like space out where it is that I use one color from another. So like if I use yellow, I'll make sure that I use yellow again very far away from the first time I used it. And then the same thing goes for another color like pink. Then pink is also going to be like used again on the opposite side of the page. It just helps with like color balancing, you know? This seems like a basic tactic, but it can be deceptively difficult to actually execute. And these two illustrations are like perfect examples of it. So if this one right here for sliding down, it turned out great, but I was actually only like a couple of steps away from striking disaster with it. It's like really artsy-fartsy in terms of why. The perspective was like really off for a while there, because you might not necessarily be able to tell, but there's like a bit of an angle to this one. It's not like a 2-point perspective shot. It's actually kind of like more in line with a 3-point perspective shot. It was like so tricky to balance out. So this next one I also really like. This one on the left just exudes like a lot of fun energy, and I just think it's an artwork that really utilizes the character's strengths. You know, Kimberly being this urban ninja, having the city be just like a complete playground to her. Very cool concept here, and I think aesthetically seeing her braids hang down, just really cool look here. Generally I'm pretty bad at drawing like massive cityscapes, but this one turned out pretty solid. And as for this other one on the right, for this one I really wanted to just like slow things down. This is something you'll see for the next two as well, because this portfolio was getting really like background heavy, which it was my intention for that to be like the vast majority of what was featured in it. But I thought it would also be nice to just kind of have some more straightforward images of characters that are just looking cool or looking cute, and that's basically what I want to hear. Just a nice cute picture we got here. So the idea behind this one was, so you know with Kimberly, she's got that strong black pride, and she loves her African patterns, but then also she's a ninja, and she studied with like Bushin Ryu. So I got this idea to throw together this background that's like a hodgepodge of different cultures, both African and Japanese. Really cool experiment here. I like the way it turned out. So for this next one, we got her here jamming out. This one's inspired from her install super. Not much more to say here. It's pretty much more of what I was just saying. Just wanted to draw something cute, something colorful. But as for the city one, this has a lot of things I could say about it actually. Not good things. So this one was a bit of a mess. Like the way that Kimberly looks, she looks fine. That's probably the best part about it. But everything else, I mean, you know the saying like, the show must go on? It's one of those things where it's like, if I didn't point it out to you, you might not notice. Cause it's for sure one of those illustrations that's like greater than the sum of its parts, if you get what I mean. Like when you zoom out, things look cool, but then when you zoom in, it's like you can tell how much of a hard time I was having. So like what I was talking about before with the Mario illustration, the gingerbread cookie one, to do this cityscape, I used a bunch of gel pens, just like with that one, and it was just like not a seamless process. I thought it would work way better, and it just didn't. I thought it would be better because these buildings were all black, so I thought it would like show up much more clearly, but it just doesn't matter because the page is so glossy. It's just using those at such a large scale. Not a good idea. It was definitely a learning experience though. But so for these next ones, these are really chill. Another couple of these where I deliberately decided to go for a much more simplistic, straightforward kind of thing. Again, I didn't want the environmental stuff to become like inundated. It's just a portrait. I wanted to have more fun with more patterns. Just like before, we got the African stuff on one side, Japanese stuff on the other side. And for these two, not just because I didn't want like the portfolio to become homogenized, also like it was a nice mental break for myself to just do something that was like obviously significantly easier. This is what you like call, I would even say like, I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but it sounds kind of derogatory. This is like junk food art, but I definitely needed some of that at this point. But yeah, these are the last of our Kimberlys. I definitely had a lot of fun with them. Kimberly is definitely one of those characters that has that like id factor that makes her so much fun to draw, and she lends herself to so many interesting things to draw. So now onto Splatoon. For the Splatoon section, I did exclusively Annie artworks because I feel like Annie is like sincerely the most underrated Splatoon character. She's certainly one of my favorites. And so for this portfolio, I knew that I wanted Splatoon to be included for sure, but I didn't want to go with the typical kind of characters that you usually see, like the front cover characters. So like no Agent 8, no Agent 3, none of the main idol bands. I was thinking like either one of the side idol bands or like a shopkeeper. I was actually going to do Spike. Spike is probably like one of my next favorite characters. But the sea anemones, they have hair that's just like out of this world in terms of like how cool it looks to me. So I didn't want to miss out on the opportunity to render that out. I just knew it would be so much fun. Now we do have a slight little cameo from Harmony here though, because of course she's the other sea anemone in the game. And so what I really like about this artwork is if you reverse it, it still looks like correct, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term. It's really fun to rotate and like get a different perspective on it. But so for these Annie artworks, each of them is themed after a different Splatoon stage location. These ones are Kelp Dome and Humpback Pump Track. For each of these artworks, I made sure to give Annie a different hair color, because that was like 90% of what made me want to draw her, of course, in the first place. And it's the biggest reason why she's one of my favorite characters. Honestly, since even like the Wii U days, Annie has been burning a hole in my pocket for me to draw her for like forever, but I've just like never gotten around to it until now. For a second, I thought about alongside her different hair colors, giving her a different colored fish, because you know, usually she has Mo alongside her, and Harmony has that other fish that I don't know the name of. But I decided against it because I wanted to give the hair a greater spotlight because I just really appreciate it. And throwing a random fish in the middle of her hair there, I knew it would give me a headache to like actually implement, because I would have had to like color around it and stuff, so it could have been a cool flourish, but from time to time, it's good to actually let your laziness win. Work smarter, not harder. I really hope that they make more sea anemone characters in the future, but the world of Splatoon has so many different kinds of like species, and the devs have so many ideas for how they can like anthropomorphize different sea creatures. They're more likely to give us more different kinds of new characters rather than like double down on old ones, even though some of the old ones are just so good. But then again, there's like 15 different kinds of jelly characters. So for these next couple, the locations are Schellendorf Institute and Camp Triggerfish. I had to try really hard not to say Museum di Alfonsino. Now it's kind of crazy considering that even saying Museum di Alfonsino takes a lot of effort in and of itself, but I get Schellendorf and the museum mixed up because they're so similar. so sometimes I have to consciously not say one over the other. I actually miss Schellendorf a lot in Splatoon 3. There's a lot of cool stages from Splatoon 2 that didn't make it over to 3 that I really like. Even though this is a very straightforward picture, obviously Annie is the focus. I'm really happy about the way the Schellendorf Institute background came out, because I like really winged it for that skeleton in the background. Usually before I do these, I do a thumbnail. I like plan out beforehand where everything's supposed to go, especially with like big illustrations like these. But for both of these, I kind of just like made stuff up as I went along. I really want to talk about her book bag with all these pins on it. So originally, because you know, Splatoon is a series with crazy good lore, the Splatoon universe is full of like very well considered world building everywhere. So I really wanted to utilize all of the different types of brands that Splatoon has, but unfortunately with these pins, I drew them a little bit too small, so some of the Splatoon logos were just a bit too complicated. So I ended up having to resort to like little cameos like from other franchises, which has its own value in its own way, but it's also kind of disappointing. So for these next couple, we got the outfit lineups. This was me once again slowing it down for the portfolio. No crazy backgrounds or anything like that. The vision for these was I picked two colors, a main color and an accent color, and then I gave her an outfit accordingly. Now there are 9 of these in total, and the 6 after these 3, each of them are based off of a different stage. But for these, I didn't really have anything in mind, I kind of just did some stuff. So from left to right, we've got Black Belly, Mahi Mahi Resort, and then the last one's kind of weird because when I first made this, I didn't really know. Well, let me just say it, it's supposed to be Robo Ramen, but then I kind of mixed it with like Anchovy Games because I didn't really like understand that Robo Ramen is apparently a laser tag arena. I thought it was an arcade, but like truth be told, I didn't really know what it was. But like who cares, it's not that big a deal. Fun fact, I hate drawing swimsuits. I decided to do it for this though because, you know, obviously it's themed after a resort. But I'll go on my tangent about what it is I don't like about swimsuit designs another day. I'll just give you like a tiny snippet here. It's just that like, if you ever think about it, like whenever you see like a swimsuit design for like, let's say like a gacha game, they do this all the time for gacha games. Ironically, because the character isn't wearing very much, they like bedazzle the character and all these like wacky accessories and stuff. And I've learned that the less clothes you put on a character, like go figure, the less you're able to show off what that character is all about because they're not wearing anything. It's just like inherently counter to what makes character design what it is. So that's why you see artists will like bedazzle the characters because it's like, how do we show off this character's personality while they also have nothing on? It's a whole thing. Whatever, I said I wouldn't tangent and here we are. Okay, sorry. It's all good though because I honestly don't have that much to say about these. What you see is what you get. It's just Annie in different outfits. Once again, from left to right, the themes for these last ones are Schellendorf Institute, Piranha Pit, and Camp Triggerfish. Also, I reused these for those other illustrations, of course. So yeah, not much more to say. So anyways, now we got Hiei. It's time for Yu Yu Hakusho. Finally, we got some edginess in here. Up to this point, it's been almost literally sunshine and rainbows. And actually, this is exactly what I was going for. By this point, I really wanted to darken things because the colors were getting a little bit much. And so, you know, I've said words like inundation, homogenization. I've said those words a lot. It's something that I was pretty conscious of running into. So I knew that drawing a character like Hiei would definitely be able to balance things out. Okay, so like real quick, just bear with me. Let me gush about Yu Yu Hakusho real quick. Yu Yu Hakusho, easily one of my favorite series of all time. Now, of course, all of the things that I've picked for this portfolio, I absolutely love to bits. But you see, the thing is about Hakusho is that it's, at this point, pretty old. So I feel this special need to call it out. And that being said, might be a turnoff to some people, but I'm here to tell you, it's timeless. If you haven't seen Yu Yu Hakusho, and you like anime in any kind of way, go watch it. Okay, PSA over. So for the one of him sitting on this pile of demons, I'm really happy about the balance that I struck about making this really gritty and hardcore, while at the same time having nothing in it that's like flaggable, if you get what I mean. I am not the type of person who draws anything like too crazy in the first place, but even still, I was really happy about figuring out a way to draw this without showing like a single drop of blood, because I always think it's like really cool when you can find ways to show battle damage without showing explicit gore, and so I'm happy that I was able to adopt some of those techniques for this one right here. And then here on the other side, we got Hiei with Yukina. Really like the juxtaposition here, having one that's like really edgy on one side and then one that's like really sweet on the other side. Each of these came very naturally, and Yukina was easier to draw than I thought she'd be. She translated to my style surprisingly well. So for these two, I want to talk about a principle that's pretty often exhibited in manga. It's something that's been present in all of these, but these make me want to talk about it the most, I feel like. Oda is somebody who does this a lot for his color spreads in One Piece, right? Even if like other characters will be fully rendered and shaded, sometimes if a character isn't like all black, like Sanji, that character will be like completely flat. Everything will be black. It's a principle that is actually, when you think about it, kind of weird, but like, you know, when you're looking at it, you generally don't think about it. But like from an artist's perspective, it's kind of a weird thing to do, you know? And it's something that I particularly like the aesthetic of a lot. And it's also something that as an artist is very relieving to do because it's just easier. And it's something that I only started doing in like more recent memory. Before, any character that was wearing black, I would color in with like a really dark gray marker, and then I would shade that gray with black. And now I don't do that anymore. I do it this way. So like for Hiei's cloak, it becomes like this giant black mass, just a dark shadow. Very edgy of you, Hiei, just as we like from you. And then you can just see like a little pop of red on the inside. Really cool aesthetic, I feel. But now these are the last Hiei illustrations. So Hiei's struggle with the dark dragon is a pretty long and arduous one, and he was dealing with his right arm for like a long time. And I just remember a lot of his struggles, they were always located at like the shoreline, and to me it really sticks out in my mind and it's pretty iconic. So I thought it would be a pretty cool thing to illustrate. I was supposed to have a couple of more illustrations of him with his Jagan eye out, but to be honest, it kind of bugs me. Like, I think his Jagan eye is like really cool in concept, but I mean this purely from like an artistic perspective. His normal eyes are red and the Jagan eye is like purple, and it's not like I have an idea about what color it should be. Like maybe it should be red too, maybe it shouldn't, but it being purple just kind of like, I don't know. I'm being nitpicky. Anyways, on the other side here, we've got Killua from Hunter x Hunter giving a pretty unique cameo. But like, if you know what's what, it's not that surprising because, you know, the author of Yu Yu Hakusho is the same author for Hunter x Hunter, and Killua and Hiei have actually quite a good number of similarities to each other. They're like actually a match made in heaven. And really, I just knew that the color scheming would be really cool, especially, you know, with Killua's lightning and whatnot, his white bright color scheme. Killua brings the flash and dazzlement, Hiei brings the darkness and the blacks. Everything here just fit like a puzzle piece. Okay, lastly, our final series is Okami. And so I've only done 2 pages here, but I saved some really good ones for last. For these last 2, we for sure make up quantity with quality. Really proud of these last 2, but of course for Okami, I had to bring my A game. See, originally I wasn't even gonna draw Amaterasu. This was supposed to be completely focused on Rao, but then I was like, am I really gonna miss out on my opportunity to draw Ami? No, we're not. We're not gonna miss that. Because just like with like everything else in this portfolio, everything here only came to be because the stars aligned and allowed for me to draw all of this when I could. Plus, this shot is really simple, so I took it easy on myself. But yeah, a pair of practice illustrations for Rao over there, and then the main illustration there, we got Rao riding on top of Ami at Ryoshima Coast, because of course. So Okami is one of my favorite games of all time, and pretty recently, Okami got a sequel greenlit, a miracle from the heavens that many of us never thought would actually come to be. Pretty crazy. The amount of respect that I have for this game is like so immense. My ties with it run pretty deep. So anybody watching / listening, if you like video games like at all, I strongly encourage you to go play Okami. It's one of those games that like freakishly has aged like a fine wine. I'm not gonna say that it hasn't aged at all, of course, but I played the HD version very recently, like at the end of 2024, right after the sequel got announced. And it had been a very long time since I last played it. Like maybe, like I don't know, maybe like 6, 7, 8 years. And it's like crazy how much this game holds up. I don't mean that in like a rose-tinted goggles kind of way. I mean that in like a just like, wow, some recent games that I've played don't have the things that this game offers. So with that being said, it would be kind of weird of me to not offer you a spoiler warning for what's about to come up next. If you have any interest in Okami, don't watch this last bit. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this portfolio. Otherwise, if you don't care, or if you are an Okami fan, enjoy this too. So for our final artwork here, there was no way I was passing up drawing Evil Rao. I absolutely love Ninetales. It's like to the point where I even considered saving like a separate file right before the Ninetales fight so that like randomly whenever I got into the mood I could replay that fight again. This is the type of stuff you used to do back when you were like 12 or some crap. And I felt that spark again just recently, like in my 2024 playthrough like I was just talking about. Just like magical stuff there, so cool. So the one on the left here is taken from that one scene where Rao swallows Himiko's jewel, a scene that lives completely rent-free in my head. I think I went a little too overboard with these like fur patches that she has on her arms and legs, but I really wanted to go big or go home with my interpretation because like the Okami art style usually like simplifies things pretty strongly. So I really wanted to see how things could possibly look if I like, I don't know, I guess you could say like overexpressed things in certain places. So like that was kind of the goal, but even so, maybe I went a little too far. in hindsight as I look at this. But like, so for the other one, I love the way that these thunder clouds turned out, and I'm so glad I got the opportunity to draw this sword. Just everything about these two illustrations were so satisfying to execute. But yeah, that's pretty much the portfolio. Thanks for listening and thanks for watching. If there was anything for you to take away from this whole thing, it would be watch Yu Yu Hakusho and play Okami. Okay, that's it. Everybody stay inspired, stay inspirational.